You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, let's talk about coaching. There's a lot to talk about out there involving coaching. I was hoping to get a little something. I actually meant to have already shot this video, and for whatever reason, I hadn't got around to it. I was waiting till some of the Saturday news started popping up, and what I mean by that is there's NFL playoff games today, which means there's going to be news splash reports from these NFL insiders like Schefter and Rappaport and Jay Glazer, these kind of guys. And one of the ones that we've talked about watching, because John Harbaugh was the big shocker, and then 2 days after that, Mike McDaniel was the big shocker. And I put out a tweet a couple of days ago, and I said, guys, you got to watch the Bills, Packers, Steelers. How does all that work itself out? Because I've said, I think there's a world where one of the three of these teams could be out. And then for Matt LaFleur, he's got two things that are going against him here. All right? He's got the fact that he's got a real iffy contract situation right now. And Ed Policy's running this thing. And this is the thing that really kind of put him in a bind. Look at that headline. This headline made its way around about 7 or 8 days ago. Without postseason expansion, the Packers would be on a 4-year streak of no playoffs. That got a lot of attention. It got a lot. Cowherd, everybody talked about this. So it really put a spotlight on the fact that, okay, well, if the NFL hadn't expanded playoffs in 2020, the Packers wouldn't be in the playoffs right now, and they wouldn't have been in the playoffs. So in other words, they're just barely sneaking in every year, which is not great. It's not a great look. Now, if Matt LaFleur lost his job, is he getting hired by somebody else this cycle? Immediately. Like Tennessee, I believe he was on that Tennessee staff at one point or in that building. Tennessee would move heaven and earth to try to get Matt LaFleur as their coach. I think he would jump Stefanski. I don't know that he would jump John Harbaugh, but it would be damn close. It really would. And as surprising as this is to everybody, I do think the hierarchy right now is Harbaugh and Stefanski's actually second here, folks. Not by me, but by the NFL and the leadership around NFL. They believe Stefanski is still really a guy. So, this is it. Sources say the Packers plan to engage head coach Matt LaFleur in contract discussions shortly after the season ends, with the mutual goal of extending his contract. LaFleur, whose deal expires following next year, 2026, has a 76-40-1 record and is widely considered one of the better coaches in the NFL. Interesting. Okay. Now, Packers visit the Bears tonight. It's on Prime Video. It drives me nuts. Now, I'm sorry. NFL playoff games should be on free network television for everybody to see. Yet there is one truth that should not be discounted. LaFleur is not coaching for his job tonight, sources say. Packers CEO Ed Policy has worked with LaFleur for 7 years, which includes before he succeeded Mark Murphy in July of 2025. They know each other well. Policy has been with the Packers since August of 2012 and was on the committee to hire LaFleur and has all his data points he needs. So, that's interesting. By the way, I'm sure he would become, well, actually, he would probably shoot to the top because the Dolphins just hired, John Eric Sullivan as their GM, and he's coming from the Packers too. That's why I said, look out for Mike McCarthy down there all of a sudden. All right, or Jeff Hafley. There are definitely tight, because there's crossover with all these guys and the guys they just brought on, right? So they're claiming tonight is not going to be a big deal. Are we sure about that? I mean, if the Packers get blown out by 20 in a game that, in my opinion, they should win, I think they should beat the Bears tonight. But I can tell you this, which one's the better coach, Ben Johnson or Matt LaFleur? Because I'm calling it right now. It's Ben Johnson. This game's not going to be easy for the Packers tonight in Chicago. Just look, they're saying he's fine and he's good, but if they get worked, if they get owned, if they get embarrassed, if we look up and they've lost by 30, look out. I think that changes everything. Jackson Dart at the Fiesta Bowl, he was asked by an Ole Miss assistant, who's your next coach? Jackson Dart literally responds, I don't know, Harbaugh or Stefanski, but I don't know.
Around him, fired head coach. He got fired people all around in that building. Hopefully
that's it. That's exactly what he said.
Around him, fired head coach. He got fired people
Harbaugh,
all around in that
Stefanski,
building. Hopefully they can rebuild.
But I don't know. So interesting. That tells you right there. And you could sort of tell the Giants were all in on Stefanski. Like, I think he was going to get the job until John Harbaugh hit the market. You know, that's interesting. Here you go. According to Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com, Harbaugh won't be interviewing until next week. But the Browns will likely be on the list unless Harbaugh already has a slam dunk job with another team. He's believed to have legitimate interest in coaching the Browns, even with the uncertain quarterback situation and looming rebuild of the offense. It appears Harbaugh is also, quote, very interested in the Giants' job. So that tells you right there. You may be like, what is he thinking with Cleveland? Well, he's got deep family ties here, folks. All right. His mother is from Cleveland. His father is from Crestline. You know, you get older, you get more sentimental. You start thinking about your youth. You grew up a Cleveland fan. He knows he could come in, and if he could just consistently go to the playoffs, I mean, he would be a beloved coach in the history of the Cleveland Browns franchise. And I'm sure that's not lost on him. You know? Jimmy Haslam shouldn't be afraid to back up the Brinks truck. I know everybody's on this thing about roster control, and I've said, I don't know that's, look, these big-time coaches, I don't care who they are. If they're worth a damn, they want serious input on roster and draft, period. I don't care who they are. Don't kid yourself. Kyle Shanahan is all up in the drafting for the Niners. McVay, too. All these guys are. You know, that's the misconception. And not only that, but you worried about Andrew Berry having less power? Andrew Berry? Fuck him. I mean, excuse my language, but you got to be shitting me. Come on now. Good God. I wouldn't lose sleep over that dude losing power at all. All right. So right here, this is for today. Todd Monken's getting interviewed by the Browns, which is kind of weird because the players evidently hated his guts with the Ravens. And some are saying, well, this is why Harbaugh's not there anymore, is because he wouldn't fire Monken. Now, I contended that he wouldn't fire Monken because he believes that Lamar Jackson's the problem. All right? And I imagine, I keep saying, as soon as that whole "we talked for a full day" came out between the owner and John Harbaugh, I thought, oh, yeah, he just told him the truth about Lamar. He don't think they can win it with him. And the owner was like, oh, no, I got to have my franchise quarterback, so you got to go. I don't know what this Todd Monken, he's going to get a look in various places, but I think it's ultimately going to be as offensive coordinator somewhere. I'm going to be honest. I don't love him in the National Football League. I mean, he's a really good college offensive guy. You know? Like, to be honest, he was really good with Georgia. If I'm Bama, you want to bring the running game back, hard-nosed, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart kind of football, which something I believe Kalen DeBoer desperately needs is to have physicality at Alabama. I might call Todd Monken. I wanted to do this video because I was a little caught off guard to see that Harbaugh's got some actual interest in this. It's just not going to be some random interview. He's got some interest in this Browns job. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.